Hey YouTube, what's going on? I found this video very interesting because it is questioning Italian football. Is there really that? This channel is Football Drone, is also one of my favorites, so if you like the content, please make sure to like and subscribe to his channel. We're gonna watch the video together and I will give you my thoughts, and at the end I will give you my personal 3 reasons on how Italian football can be back on top. Let's watch it.
You know, it wasn't too long ago when Italian football redeemed itself by winning the Euro 2020, and deservedly so. With a decent core of youth and experience, this team was gonna go far. With a brilliant football, this team proved that Italian football wasn't just about defending for 90 minutes. And yes, there are still people who have that perception, just because they watched 2 games in the 90s. Anyway, times were good, but fast forward to today, Italy is gonna miss the World Cup for the 2nd time in a row. One time was disastrous, but 2nd time in a row? Honestly, I still haven't digested it yet, but the question is...
I haven't digested yet. It is true, I didn't digest it yet. I don't know, it's very heavy. It's a very heavy things to eat and then to digest. It's like peppers, capsicum, you know, that the skin is very thick and it takes days time that you're gonna digest it. For me, it's the same. This is exactly the same.
Is Italian football dead? And does Italian football need a total revolution or just an evolution? Well, let's take a stock on what's going on in Italian football today. Listen, at the end of the day, results don't lie, and losing to North Macedonia is pretty bad. If there's one thing that we know, is that football is about fine margins. Italy had 32 shots against North Macedonia's just 4, yet failed to convert a single one of them, and still lost 1-0. They wouldn't even be in the playoffs in the first place if Jorginho hadn't missed penalty. Do you see a pattern here?
I see the pattern here. It's called also bad luck.
So sacking the coach or blaming the midfield isn't gonna solve any problem, but it does point to a very obvious problem. Today, and I would say for quite a while now, Italy has been missing a true number 9 up front. And it's fair to say that Italy won the Euros despite not having a brilliant number 9 in the squad. I still don't know what happens to Ciro Immobile when he wears the Italian jersey, but he's not the goal machine that we saw. As for those who say Mancini was too loyal to the players who won him the Euros,
I'm wondering, does he draw all these things by himself? Like, how do you do it? Like, you see the for example, the gray, the gray on the jacket, the green, it's beautiful. How do you draw these things? It's incredible. Amazing job.
that was just 8 months ago. We're not talking about Marcello Lippi bringing back the 2006 stars 4 years later in 2010. Mancini barely had 2 days of training to prepare for this match, so it's normal that you stick with what worked for you. And making radical changes up front when he was already forced to revamp the entire defense wouldn't be the best of ideas. Speaking of Mancini, while he should shoulder a portion of the blame, I think he built something special here. Young players like Barella, Bastoni, Tonali, Calabria, Locatelli, and Chiesa are already important players for Milan, Inter, and Juventus. While it'll be interesting to see how players like Scamacca and Raspadori develop, and let's not forget about Donnarumma. While he could have certainly done better on the North Macedonian goal, we've already seen what he's capable of during the Euros and while he was in Milan. And that's not a bad young core to have, at all. I think the Italian national team is in good hands for the next 4 years, if for God's sake we find the number 9. That being said, things are not that rosy for Italian football, and we definitely have grassroots issues, which I'll definitely touch on later in this video. But much like the national team, Italian clubs haven't had the best of times in Europe either. Milan, despite their impressive recovery in the past couple of seasons, finished at the bottom of their Champions League group, while Inter and Juventus couldn't make it past the round of 16.
I am recording, for God's sake. A bit of context. This is my new funny cat. This is Puma. Look at that. Yoo-hoo! She's getting annoyed as well, but...
this season. However, all of that comes with a bit of context. You see, while Milan continued to rebuild themselves, no one expected one of the youngest teams in Europe to make it past the group of death in their first year back in Champions League, a group that had Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, and Porto in it. And there's no shame for Inter losing 2-1 to Liverpool on aggregate. Honestly, they had a fair fight against one of the best teams in Europe. Juventus, on the other hand, could have done far better than losing 3-0 against Villarreal, even in a transitional year. That being said, there's a clear underlying issue in Italian football, and it needs to be talked about. But before we talk about the key problems in Italian football, don't forget to leave a like or comment. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, as a lot of time goes into making these videos. I really enjoy reading your comments. Thank you for your love and support.
Exactly. Make sure to like and subscribe also to his channel because the algorithm hopefully is gonna look down from the sky, please.
Alright, let's talk about some numbers. I found an interesting statistics on the number of minutes that under 21 players played for the 2019-20 season from August to January 1st. Milan had 15.5% of their minutes to under 21 players, which is quite impressive even by European standards. But Milan is an exception here because of their young project. Now let's compare that to the clubs like Juventus having 7.9, Inter 5.3, and Napoli only 2.8%. And you can see there's a clear lack of trust in youth. A player like Nicola Zaniolo was discarded by Inter in a player exchange transfer to Roma, and ever since then, he established himself as one of Roma's key players. And this is far from the only story of this nature. I think this is where the root of the problems lay. There needs to be a systematic change to expose more youth to senior football. I don't know, dude, maybe B-level clubs like we have in Spain? Speaking of which, Juventus is the only club to have an under-23 team registered in Serie C, which is a good step to take already. I hope to see more clubs follow this trend. Recently, there's been a law that Serie C clubs can only use 16 players that are older than 23, with 2 wildcards allowed for long-serving players. That means that a squad of 26 should have at least 10 players that are under the age of 23, and that's a small step towards the right direction. It's not too aggressive for the senior players, and it promotes developing homegrown players. Overall, don't get me wrong, it's not seeing Italy in the World Cup. Again, while I think we need structural changes, and God knows those changes have been needed for a while, there's no need to hit the panic button, tear everything apart, and ask for a whole revolution. But certainly, an evolution is needed, and luckily, there's a solid foundation and a good core of young players to do this with. After all, the last time Italy won a World Cup match...
Look at the teeth of Suarez. How I would say you need to make more. I think his teeth are bigger. I think it has to be a little bit more. Yeah.
Still biting people. And when you think about that, you got certain things have gone very wrong. Saying everything needs to be started from scratch is an easy thing to do. And in 2017, the previous time that Italy failed to qualify, that was certainly the case. Let's not forget, Italy won the Euros, and deservedly so. Let's not take a scorched earth policy where just an evolution would do the trick. Italian football wasn't perfect 9 months ago during the Euros, and it's not rotten right now. But it is alarming for Italian football to not make the second World Cup in a row. It's clear that there's a sickness, and we're not talking about just a common cold. Whether you like them or not, the World Cup is a lot more colorful with Italy in it than out of it. It's gonna be interesting on how Italian football will take the next few steps to take.
I really like the video, so again guys, please make sure to subscribe and like the channel of Football Drone. You need to develop, number 1, young player, young Italian player. Number 2, I think the stadiums, they have to be renewed. And in the future, if you want to buy players like Mbappe, Haaland, Italian clubs need to own their own stadium. San Siro, San Paolo, Maradona in Napoli, Stadio Olimpico in Rome. They are beautiful, but they are very old. And also all their income are shared with the city council. Number 3, the level of Serie A has to grow. Because I believe that the level that we see in football this year, it is super, super low. I truly believe that if you take Manchester United, which is 7th in Premier League, you take them and you let them play in Serie A, they're gonna win the Scudetto easily. The level of Serie A, especially this year, it is super low. It is fun, yes, of course, because we used to have a Juventus already 10 point plus compared to the second, but now we have Inter, Napoli and Milan, and none of them, they are better than the others. I'm already counting the days before the next World Cup. It's gonna be in America. We have a lot of Italian Americans, so that we must go. As simple as it that. And other than that, thanks you for watching. Let me know what do you think down below. And Forza Italia siempre.